Good afternoon. Welcome back to everybody who's already joined earlier today. My name is Ilko Kruisinga. I'm one of the matchmakers of the European Smart City Marketplace team, and it's my pleasure to introduce the next session. It will be an exciting session because we have a very sort of interesting topic around urban air mobility and new mobility services. Actually, two initiatives sitting underneath the so-called Action Cluster for Sustainable Urban Mobility. One of the action clusters that is part of the fabric of the European Smart City Marketplace. We will kick off with a presentation by Vasilis Agouradis. He's with Airbus Air Mobility team, and he will introduce two further speakers from his initiative associated with the city of Toulouse, as well as the city of Hamburg in Germany. And thereafter, we will hear again from Edwin Mermans, who is with the New Mobility Services Initiative. And he's brought two fellows with him, Danielle de Boer, talking about urban freight transport, as well as Gert Blom, who is with the city of Helmond, which is in the south part of the Netherlands, talking about intelligent speed assistance. Now, without further ado, I want to hand over to Vasilis. But do bear in mind, audience, that you have the opportunity to ask questions to the panel and the presenters via Slido. The link is below. Just type in your question there. We'll be monitoring it, and I'll be sort of distributing those questions to the presenters as we go along. There's also the opportunity to meet with the marketplace team. There's a meeting area and a help desk, which are easy to reach. There's always somebody available of the team to assist you with any question you might have. Just follow the link below on the same page that this stream is streamed from. Now I want to hand over to Vasilis. He's going to be introducing the initiative called Urban Air Mobility. So over to you, Vasilis.
I would like to give you the scope of the initiative. This has been about thinking how we can introduce the new generation of electric air vehicles in urban environments. It seems that I do not have control of my slides, so I would like to ask Anna or Sabine to change them. So perhaps you have been already familiar with regards to the world of drones. You have seen perhaps different applications. The point is, how do we integrate them in the urban mobility fabric? How do we use them in the city? And this has been, in fact, the focus of the initiative. As you can see from the current slide, the focus is not about the technology, it is about the city. If you can click, please, the slide. So it seems I have a control problem over the slides.
Okay, I just tried to fix this. This is Hannah speaking. I gave the mouse rights to you, but
okay.
I did it with the wrong. You should have the mouse rights. You could try to click on the slides.
Yes, I have also connection issues. So it is a city-centric and citizen-driven approach, as you see. And what we're looking here is to explore the interfaces with public transport, for example, or does not seem to work. If you can click for me, it will be better.
Jemand muss das muten.
Sorry, do you have control? Okay. It's about considering how drones or future air taxis could be part of mobility as a service. Of course, we have to explore the interfaces with the ground, whether it is about landing spots or about digital infrastructure required in order to be integrated with the wider smart city infrastructure. You see on number 4, it is about the air traffic management. This is a generic term, the ATM, that it is used in aviation, and specifically for the drones part and the air traffic over urban environments. There is a concept of UTM, which stands for Unmanned Traffic Management, and it is about how do we manage this new type of traffic of unmanned vehicles over cities. Of course, here is not just about air taxis, as I say, and as you can see on the slide, it's about different uses of drones, whether it can be for medical or logistics. If we can go to the next slide, please.
Is this the slide you want to see?
Sorry, but I see the previous slide. I don't know if you have moved it.
I clicked on the next slide.
Okay, I don't see it here, but
Okay. Maybe you could keep on talking because we can see the slides.
okay. So let me see. I'm sorry for that, but it's a very bad connection.
So we can see the side explore shaped deal, and then we have different points on the left side and the circles on the right side and a blue box in the middle. Maybe if you could talk about that slide.
Yes, this is about, we're talking here in the EIP about the explore and deal phases. In fact, what makes the initiative different, if you can click the points to see on the left side, is that we don't have certified products as with other initiatives, for example, electric cars, or if we're talking about smart city projects with regard to, for example, lampposts and so on. So there are a lot of challenges with regard to urban air mobility. There is no regulatory framework in place. So we need to define this, whether it is for drones or air taxis. It is not even agreed at a societal level, at a society level, what are the use cases for which we are going to use this next generation of air vehicles. Again, whether it is an air taxi type, or passenger transport, or a drone. And there is not even evidence about what the society thinks about it. If you can click, so we can have the blue part. So this prompted the initiative to be purely city-centric and citizen-driven, and the focus is given, in fact, of preparing the market conditions for services, not for technology's implementation. Because here, what we care about is the benefit we can provide, the public value, the public benefit from this new type of technology. And this is the reason why the cities are the main members and only, I would say, of this initiative. Of course, cities develop their own local ecosystems around which they work with academia, with SMEs, with bigger companies, as you will see from my colleagues in Toulouse and in Hamburg. But the actors who really drive and lead this initiative are cities. If you can click, we can see the three circles that I have there. So the focus is on really working to create, not only to integrate in terms of technology, these new opportunities we have through urban air mobility, but also to work to socially embrace this. And the cities are working to establish the public and private support required, whether it is about, for example, with regulators or with funding organizations. And we are seeking the synergies between the ground and the air, because from the very early stage, we have acknowledged that this has to be complementary to the established urban mobility systems. And of course, we'll put a lot of emphasis of bringing forward the role of the cities and the citizens by making them one of the main actors of co-creation. If we can go to the next slide, what we can see is that the initiative, it is formulated around 4 task forces. If you can click, so we can see the regulation, funding, air and ground integration, and public co-creation. And I hope you can click, so we can see the 3 different circles there, and the cities being really in the center. If you keep clicking, so we can see that other activities of the initiative is about ongoing work on developing a policy or practitioner briefing about urban air mobility in the context of SUMP. Perhaps you have heard in the morning Luana and Lutz talking about the importance of the sustainable urban mobility plans, and the aspect of urban air mobility has been missing so far, and our initiative has been asked by DigiMove to lead this work. So our cities, through the task forces you see here, are working on that. At the same time, we are working with the European Investment Bank through the advisory hub, where we have an assignment in order to explore what are the opportunities for urban air mobility. I would like to give you very quickly an overview of this work with the European Investment Bank. So if we go to the next slide, we started at end of February. The aim is to finish by end of October, and we really want to explore the business model opportunities in terms of what are the main pillars, how mature it is. You can see on this slide the different work packages and tasks on this work. We really want to focus on the more mature projects from our cities and use them as the guide to better understand what are the investment requirements and what is required to mature them. So if we go to the next slide, this is a work led by Atkins, which is the external consultant that has won this assignment. And if you click again, we can see that the next steps is really to keep working in order to better understand and report the market assessment, have a deeper understanding on the business case development, and we plan to communicate all of this in the fall. So just go to the next slide. I would like to thank you. I apologize for the connection issues. I hope I gave you a quick overview of the initiative that has 40, what I missed in one of the slides to say at the beginning is that the initiative has members 42 cities across 14 countries in Europe. And I would like to pass now to Toulouse and to Roit, and later on to Hamburg with my colleagues there, to see 2 different approaches of how 2 cities have been dealing and prompted from the initiative. Thank you.
Thanks, Vasilis, for this nice overview of your project. I'm not sure who will be next. Rohit, will it be you?
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Thank you, Vasilis, for the introduction part. And good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for allowing Toulouse Metropole to present our plan and our complete vision, how we started this complete project from the scratch and where we are today. Yeah, so the story of Toulouse started in September 18. Thanks to Vasilis for bringing the Toulouse Metropole inside the initiative. But like all the cities, for us also, we were very new. We never did anything regarding the drone or drone taxi or any other operation in third dimension before. But we realized that there is some potential. But the major question for us is like how to develop the complete ecosystem. Because in Toulouse Metropole, we believe that urban air mobility is for us is not an aviation, but a new form of urban mobility. And for that, we need to develop the complete ecosystem. So we keep working with more than 35 partners for 5 months. And in Feb 19, we developed the urban air project. We identify all the actors. And the next question was that how to get money for this project, what we have defined. So in that time, parallelly, there was a project named Villagil was going on, like we were developing the call for proposal, which was about the next 10-year plan for future mobility. We integrated the urban air mobility inside that project. And in September, we won the project with a budget of 165 million. And out of which 165 million, 113 million has been dedicated to the urban air mobility. One thing I would like to highlight here, so Villagil is not just a project, it's a kind of business plan. And it's about the future strategy of Toulouse Metropole, which means if we are thinking about the future, so we cannot just keep talking about one or two partners. We need to involve the complete ecosystem of Occitanie first, Occitanie region or Toulouse Metropole region. But we didn't have any means to do that. And then in December 2019, last year during the Amsterdam Drone Week, we launched our digital segment that is B612 UAM. So B612 is already an innovation center in Toulouse that is having the accelerator program. And with this vision, we started to develop the urban air mobility for other partners in Toulouse. But surprisingly, we got support and willingness from the partners across the globe who want to join us. So we open it during the Amsterdam Drone Week. But after that, we also keep supporting many technology partner or research institute because they need a urban area to test or try their solution. And in January 2020, we won another S2020 project named U-Space, in which Toulouse is going to support the research group with the demand capacity balancing in urban area. So if I would like to highlight about the Villagil, so as I said, Villagil is a business plan and it is a very unique example of 22 partners of the public and private partner to work together and to develop urban mobility for the future. It is also about the investment because in Villagil, we got a funding of 35.7 million, but remaining amount is open for outside investment. So this also give a opportunity for all across the globe to all the investors to come to Toulouse and to start working with a Villagil project. And the third is about the replication. So if we want to develop a sustainable solution, a green solution for tomorrow, we need to work with the partners of the city outside Toulouse. So they can also learn from us and we can learn from them. So in the Villagil project, we also have a segment related to the replication of the solution, what we are developing. To highlight the core idea behind the Villagil. So first question which comes in our mind, how the future will look like? What about the tomorrow's mobility? And with this vision, we are developing a Frankagel test bed, multimodality test bed in Toulouse. So if you can see the yellow part, so yellow part is dedicated to the ground mobility, like the autonomous vehicle, their maintenance, how it will operate. The blue part is dedicated to the urban air mobility, where we're going to talk about the ground infrastructure, air infrastructure, traffic management of drone, the cyber security of the system, and how the air taxi or drone will operate. The red part is dedicated to the energy and energy infrastructure. So it is very clear that city cannot build a two electric infrastructure or hydrogen infrastructure to support ground and air vehicle. We need a common infrastructure. So in the red area, that work will be done. The purple is dedicated to interoperability between the ground and air mobility, how the third dimension will be communicate or integrate in the existing ecosystem. And the orange one is about the research work and about the co-working space. So which means this Frankagel test bed, which is our first priority to develop, will give us the idea how to save the complete city. And this test bed will be open for all the city, for all the companies who want to come and test in Toulouse in next 2 to 3 year time. And after that, in next 5 to 7 year, we're going to start deploying the drone taxi as well as other ground mobility solution. So after launching the Urban Air Mobility Initiative during Amsterdam Drone Week, we realized that we cannot afford to do it only for the urban air mobility. Because even if we think about the urban air mobility, the actors are from very different domain. They are from the energy, they are from the city planner, they are from the regulation, they are from the ground mobility. So with this vision, we realized that we need to cover inside the digital, we need to cover the complete blanket of partners. And inside this, we will have the 4 different type of actors. So we named it, we categorize it in 4 different. So one we named it supply. Any company or universities or research institute, they want to sell or commercialize their solution. We name it demand. Who will going to generate the need, like city like us, like the hospitals, like agriculture and railways. We then talk about the fund, because we have been, Toulouse have been get in touch with many investor people are getting in touch with us that they want to invest in a project like Villagil. But there might be some other project also who are unable to reach to the dedicated fund across the globe. So that part is about the fund. Then it's about the support, like the regulators. So we have been in touch with the regulator who said, yes, they want to support the project. They want to advise the company. So they can do that. So this is the global idea that we want to develop it. When we started, we wanted to develop it for Occitanie to make it, to connect all Toulouse and Occitanie region. But now slowly, as we are getting the positive response, we will take it to the global level. So what's next? So as Toulouse is trying to develop urban air mobility, but we are very open and we are willing to work with all the segment of actors, whether cities or investor or different organization, through our digital marketplace, which we started with a local vision, but we want to collaborate with all the actors and partners across the globe. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit. I think we can go now to the team of Hamburg. I hope Andreas has joined, and Christina or Francesca.
Yes, we are here, Francesca and me, in the same room, so we share the same laptop. Now I would like to introduce the Hamburg approach to UAM, as we call it, from small to big, evolving UAM in Hamburg. I hope we can switch the slides. Now this is the first thing. We see these are new economic spaces. It's from our thoughts developed 1.5 years ago. So this is a perspective of a city, and Hamburg is not only a city but a city-state. It means one of 16 federal German Länder states. And so we are not only a city, we are also the federal, on a federal level, we are the aviation authority of the city-state of Hamburg. So we have more than one perspective in Hamburg. So this is, for us, it's a perspective for the industry. A new economic space means above the cities means a new perspective for the industry, and we have a strong industry cluster here with Hamburg Aviation, with Airbus and Lufthansa Technik and others.
If that is fine for you, I could, if you can hear me, then I could just go on for Mr. Richter.
Yes, please, Christina.
All right. As Mr. Richter just said, Hamburg is a city-state. Oh, is he back?
Christina, so I don't know why we were, so did you hear anything from us, or should we start from the beginning?
Now, if you could just keep on talking about Hamburg as a city-state, slide.
Yes,
number 3.
I talked about. I don't know when we went out from the laptop with the mic. So now the mic is on. So we have two perspectives. We are a city-state, one of 16 federal German Länder, and as a city-state, we have an aviation authority, which is working closely together with the Federal Aviation Authority. That's different from other German cities. So we have both perspectives. So these are the 5 topics which are very important for us developing UAM. The first thing is we need the legal framework. Without legal framework, there is no economic space. And we have these 2 perspectives, and that is the discussion ongoing with the other and the European Commission and with the federal government. So how do we establish the legal framework? That's one thing. For the cities, very important is that above the clouds, freedom might be boundless, but above the city, it's not. And what is limiting the capacity? So the capacity above the cities is limited by the legal framework. It's one thing, it's very important, but it's also limited by technology, by infrastructure, and by public acceptance. So our aim is, how do we find the right capacity above our cities within these very important things like legal framework, technology, infrastructures, and public acceptance. And then very important for us in Hamburg is acceptance is created by balancing competing interests. It's not only discussing with the citizens, but bring these competing interests together, like also ecologic, like noise and other things, and security. We have to balance all that, and that will make acceptance. So at the end, in Germany, we'll have to have a legal framework. We have to do these balancing of the interests, and it has to be also sure before the courts. And one slide, can you go one slide back? So there was the 5th point. So the reason is why we started of acceptance. We started with projects like Medifly, like other UAM cities, which have more acceptance because it's a public interest. So, and then we have the other view as a civil aviation authority, what is very important for us as well. So far, individual air control should be enhanced by an automated and integrated urban air traffic management. This has to be developed, and there is a lot of discussion ongoing on that, but that's what we need. UAV should be connected with controller and owner during flight and should be identifiable for authorities, very important for the cities as well. And we need to protect sensible areas, and that should be guaranteed. That must be possible. Those areas have to be defined legally and protected automatically, because we cannot go on permissions every drone flight. And we need technology for that, for instance, by geofencing. And we need also the appropriate technical and administrative defense systems. So this is the views we have on UAM. And then we came to our projects, and we selected our projects addressing these views. So we have one project could be more explained by Christina and Franziska, Medifly, and we have one called UDVEO, which is about the traffic. How could it be organized above cities? How do we organize drone centers with all aspects? And then we have the third project, and we have a lot of other projects as well, but these are the three ones of strategic interest. So we have a very profound approach to what is really possible above a city. So that's from my point for the beginning. Yeah, I would say, and then the rest could be done by Christina and Franziska.
Okay, Christina, will you take over? Yes, thank you. As we already said, Medifly is one of the model projects in Hamburg. It's similar, of course, to many use cases transporting medical goods. In this case, it's tissue samples between two hospitals. But I think what is quite interesting is that we have been working on this project since 2017 in forming the partner setup, for example, and talking to each other and to the hospitals, of course, and involving them from the very early beginning, because we had to understand how could Medifly and the drone actually help them in their processes and give them a safe, secure, and regular drone operation. So this was the setup, the challenge for Medifly Hamburg. Medifly is a project which is taking place in Hamburg, really in a very urban and densely populated area. You can see the route that has been taken between the two hospitals here on this slide. It's about 5.5 to 6 kilometers in the air. What you need to know is all of the Hamburg city region is inside air traffic control zone, and the Medifly drone was taking off and launching from helipads. So we had to take this into consideration. Hamburg, of course, is quite specific with their weather conditions, so we had to take this into account as well. Here you can see the project set up. It's divided into two phases. The first one has been accomplished successfully in February. It was dedicated to demonstrating the technological setup. So we demonstrated that it's feasible and safe to fly in this urban area. The next setup of the project will be on working on the regular operation. So this is at the moment being, you can say, they're applying for the funding, which has already been unofficially been granted by the Federal Ministry for Transportation and Digital Infrastructure. And this second phase will work on more than one route. There will be a network for drone logistics between various hospitals in northern Germany. So this is about scalability and replication, and we will have been dedicating also a very big task package to public involvement. How can we raise the public acceptance here, and not just getting feedback, but also getting the public involved into maybe giving their thoughts and shaping their ideas in here as well. So we've been talking about quite a few projects. I think what you need to know is, as I said, Hamburg has been dealing with UAM topics since 2016 and has been building up network structures in 2017, which paved the way for Hamburg being a European UAM model region. So what we are doing in this network, Hamburg's network is called Windrove. We are bringing people together and we are shining light on all the activities and the various competencies that are taking place in Hamburg. So you can see just a little visual here on the side. There's quite a bunch of competencies here in Hamburg and projects going on. One of them is, of course, MediFly, but there's quite a bit going on as well. What is interesting about our network, Windrove, is it's funded by the city, actually. So we are receiving money from the city to bring those people together, to bring society, science research, industry partners, and public institutions together to shape this urban air mobility approach here in Hamburg. What we are doing together with them is to foster new projects. We are free of commercial interests, so we are working dedicated to the civil and to the public interest of UAM, and we are bringing them all together to form this UAM strategy for the city. So this was quite a short wrap-up of everything we've been doing to catching up some time. So thanks a lot for your interest, and I'm giving up to the next one.
Thank you very much, Christina and the team, Andreas, Franziska from Hamburg, and also Roy from Toulouse. I think this is the end of our presentations. I hand over to you to tell us how you want to proceed.
Yes, I think we should proceed with Edwin then, yeah, of North Brabant.
Good afternoon. My name is Edwin Mermans. I'm from the province of North Brabant and also one of the coordinators of the New Mobility Service initiative, one of the 3 initiatives in the action cluster. New mobility services, that is about large-scale implementation of new mobility services in a smart city context. What we want is a breakthrough in the implementation and also mainstreaming of novel mobility solutions that are enabled by autonomous mobility, CITS, and mobility as a service. We are not about technology push, but it is about making cities better. What we want is to create impact in cities and regions and to deal with the challenges such as congestion, lack of space, clean air, inclusion, but also to create new jobs. NMS is a partnership. We are a community with, at the moment, over 100 active stakeholders, such as cities, regions, industry, SME, universities, consultancies, and European networks. So the whole set of stakeholders in this transition. At the moment, we are especially interested to have more cities and regions on board, especially also with experience and ambitions in fast-tracking the uptake of NMS. And additional to that, of course, also industry and SME are very welcome to join and test your solutions and vehicles and services in smart cities. NMS at, I have to click the slides too, of course. I have only 3. They're slow. This is number 2. And the last one is about, of course, what we are about. We have at the moment 6 working groups where the real work happens. And today you can listen to 4 of our coordinators. We had 2 this morning and now we have 2 this afternoon. So that means that now I give the floor to both Danielle de Boer about urban freight management, and after that, last but not least, Gert Blom about intelligent speed assistance. So Danielle, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Edwin. Hannah, Elko, Sabine, thank you for having us. I'm Danielle de Boer. You can't see me right now because I had setting issues and I didn't want to risk a log out. But I will leave my LinkedIn in the chat so you can add me straight away. I'm the lead coordinator, as Edwin said, for urban freight transport. So NMS is not only about mobility, also for freight. And what we have in our current work group now are cities and regions, universities, also the European Network of Living Labs. And our work group is about an integral approach to CO2 emission. What we build on are projects which have run under Horizon 2020 and have been successful. And we are building a follow-up on this. So there are 3 projects which we're building up on. So that is success. That's building consolidation centers in cities where they work multi-stakeholder. A city lab, 20 sitting labs. Some of you know the word living lab, but it's where innovations, both mobility and freight, are deployed and solutions are tested out in a multi-stakeholder setting. And also Novolog, which is a project on how to implement SULP, so Sustainable Urban Logistics Plans, and how to work multi-stakeholder. So from my from this summary, you already know that it's about multi-stakeholder. So that's where we're engaging on. So what you see now is we lobbied at DG Move for some things that we wanted to work on in Horizon Europe. What you saw in the first versions was that there was a focus on mobility and passengers and not so much on freight. So we discussed a more integral approach about freight and mobility together. And we are working through the silos. So what silos do you see in this plane? So what you see is a lot of urban logistics and siloing of logistics. And then for freight, it's another silo, and these are not working together. We are also looking at a project called Phytonodes, which connects urban logistics with the TEN-T nodes for freight. So we want, in our project, we want to integrate both mobility and transport, and also want to link both urban logistics and TEN-T nodes. And also, when you look at a lot of solutions in these projects we are building up on, that there are a lot of technological solutions which are quite narrow. And it's not about all these funding schemes are not about creating technology constantly and not learning from it. What we'd like to see is how could we upskill technology? Technology is already there. It's a surplus of a lot of technology. How could we upskill tech that's already there? What you see from a European Commission point of view, but also broader in regional policies, that it's mission-oriented and regional. And what you see is that a lot of stakeholders are working together. On the in the figure you see at the right, you see the many sectors are working together to actually take up societal challenges. And this is what we actually do and what we need. So we're now working with these projects, which we're researching on a business model for sustainable cooperation and change. So we want to work multi-stakeholder through the silos, as I already said. What we are working on now is a a bigger research underneath these partners, but also other partners that have joined, like for runner projects in urban logistics or in freight, that have run already and were proven to be sustainable after 4 years. And these are either city labs, which has been successful and the project is still running, but we're also looking at city labs which have stopped and then see what were the causes for this. And ultimately, we want a template for upscaling of this cooperation and the transferability of learnings by EU for runners in sustainability. So we want to work towards projects, not so much projects that work, but towards cooperation that works. And on the long term, we want to see how we can find sustainable cooperation plans that are like SAMP and SALP, not paper documents, but are evidence-informed change plans. Oh, so my email was in the slide, but somehow it disappeared. So I will give you my email in the chat. And thank you so much for your attention.
Good afternoon. In the next -2 minutes which are left, I will try to explain a bit about intelligent speed assistance. This is a working group dealing with a very specific topic, ISA, intelligent speed assistance. And I sincerely hope in 2 years' time we will not longer have this working group, but for the time being it's still useful. I will try to explain. This is what intelligent speed assistance ISA is. It's an intelligent speed assistance system. It's a technology that can actively prevent drives from exceeding the speed limits. And it's most of the time it's using both cameras in the vehicle and databases, speed limit databases from a digital map. This is what it is. So it's a bit more intelligent compared to, for example, speed bumps. And speed bumps, I know they're not quite intelligent, but we still need them. Everybody hates them, but we still need speed bumps. But in the future, we will hope we can turn into intelligent speed assistance, ISA. And this is why it's important. It's about, we're dealing with 25,000 fatal accidents per year on European roads. And speeding is one of the main factors for these accidents. And in fact, it's a shame, of course, that we accept this because there's technology available and there's some research has been done, for example, by TRL, Transport Research in London. And the impact of ISA could be about 20% reduction in fatal accidents. So this is huge. This is really enormous. And another study showed that it could prevent about 25,000 people killed in the next 15 years. So this is why it's so important. But this is it's not only about statistics. This is also, of course, about tragedies in families. Mothers, fathers, friends not coming home from work, kids not coming home from school. And this is why ISA is very important in our belief. And from the working group I'm chairing, we try to do some practical things. And one of the examples is the ISA Manifesto in 2018. We launched this just as a awareness raising for ISA. At the occasion of the annual Polis conference, the City Network Polis, and at least it's raised some awareness about ISA, why it's important and why it's needed to come to deployment. And we hope at least we could contribute a little bit to the General Safety Regulation revision by the European Commission. And this is a major step forward. What it will mean that ISA is now included in the General Safety Regulations in the European Union. And in practice, this means that from 2022 onwards, all new type of vehicles in the European market have to be equipped with ISA on board. And from 2024 onwards, all new vehicles produced in Europe and coming to the European market will have ISA on board. So this is a major step forward. And the type of ISA that's going to be mandatory in the EU, it will be a system that can be switched off, is overridable, so no worries. If you want to be so stupid to speed and speeding, it's still possible. It's not wise, but still possible. And now in the next coming months or so, we will define the details. And of course, the devil is in the detail. What kind of system will be mandated by the European Commission? There's a discussion going on. Should it be only camera-based, only the camera in the vehicle recognizing traffic signs, or should it also be based on digital map information? And probably the outcome will be that it will be technology neutral. The main thing where it's all about is the detection rate levels. If it only detects, the system only detects about, let's say, 50% of the traffic signs and the speed limits, it will not work. People will not accept it, will not use it, and they will switch it off. So what we really would like to have is a very high detection rate levels to be mandatory. What we're also doing, and this is with some partners, is we made a proposal for the EIT Urban Mobility to prepare the cities for speed limit data supply chain. What I mean with this is, of course, if we want to make success of ISA, if all new vehicles will be equipped with ISA, but the cities are not prepared or other road authorities are not prepared because they're not giving the right speed limit data, it will not work either. So also for us as cities, there's some work to do. And with this project, we try to at least prepare cities for this. And last thing we're doing in the Netherlands, at least, is we try to set up some retrofitting pilots, because it's good when all new vehicles will be equipped with ISA, but there will be an existing fleet for many, many years without ISA. And so we're doing some pilots now to see if it's possible to do aftermarket installation of ISA systems technology. COVID does not help us to do some pilots for the moment, I must be honest about this. So this is really about a call for action. This is why I'm very happy to present, to pitch now. The participants in this webinar really would like to have your support whenever possible to lobby for high detection rate levels. As I said before, if the detection rate levels mandated by the European Commission are not high enough, it will not work and the users will not accept it, and it will have not the impact we expect it to have. But there's also another thing. Already now you could, and following the good example, for example, of Transport for London, to get ISA in the procurement requirements for public transport in your region or country. But also for companies, you could, in your procurement specs of your company's fleet, you could consider to ask for ISA in your cars, in your vehicles, in your trucks, in your buses. Of course, you're more than welcome to sign the ISA manifesto. No worries, it's nothing legally binding, but it's really to express your interest in ISA, in the support of ISA, and deployment of ISA. And of course, you're more than welcome to join the working group on ISA. For private companies, more than welcome, but especially cities. We're looking for cities to join our working group, because in the end, we as cities, we will benefit from ISA if we can get rid of these speed bumps. It will increase road safety, but also there's another thing, we have to prepare ourselves for ISA to come with the speed limit data. Thank you very much, and over to Edwin, I suppose.
Edwin, do you want to say something about generally about contacting your initiative before we go into perhaps two questions? We have time.
Yes, of course. In general, and the last slide is with my contact details. But if you are interested and want to know more about new mobility services, just contact me. I will share with you the white paper. You can find it on Twitter also. And since we have 6 working groups on 6 topics, there are a lot of opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin. So just because we can take up to 3 o'clock CET. So I think there's time for 2 questions. There are actually more questions than 2. Probably we'll be able to respond to those questions via the website, so beyond the time of this webinar. Let me just pick one question related to aerial mobility. Actually, there are a couple of questions that could be clustered. It's around public perception and acceptance will be key elements of unmanned aerial vehicles in general, certainly in city environments. How will the initiative investigate social acceptance? Is that a question for Vasilis or colleagues?
Yes, I could try to give an answer to that. First of all, it's not about investigating social or public acceptance. The way we see it is about developing it or co-creating, co-shaping it. As it was highlighted by my colleagues from Hamburg. It is about balancing competing interests. So when we say social acceptance or social embracement, which is a term we use in our initiative, we don't mean just the citizens. The citizens, of course, they are a key element, a key stakeholder, but they are not the only one from the wider society. So the way that we push for this to happen is mainly through living labs. What you've seen, for example, what Toulouse is trying to do is to develop such a living lab. What Hamburg is trying to find ways is to see how in these experimental setups they can engage with the citizens in order to influence, to give feedback. So different cities have different approaches. They can run some information sessions or questionnaires. It is not yet one certain way. Each city has its own way, but what we really see to be the key point is to be active, which means to engage the citizens in this sort of living lab environments. And it is not just the citizens, but the many different actors, whether they are regulators or research institutes or other aspects of the public life.
Thank you, Vasilis. So I think the linkage to the living labs is something that we heard earlier today as well as a sort of key component in involving the wider stakeholders in the acceptance and actually the take-up and scale-up of these types of solutions. So there's a question, probably you could address that to Danielle, I suppose. It says, what is the role of local government to enable the urban freight scenarios that were discussed? So how do you see local government, city councils, what role do they play in enabling those scenarios?
Yeah, so what we are researching are the multi-stakeholder cooperation, and what you see, which role governments usually take up, it depends per scenario. Sometimes they facilitate a lot of these innovations, but preferably they are innovators. So what we are now setting up is how cities can be innovators, because they have a lot of the rights and possibilities, for instance, to reuse space in the city for logistics purposes. Amsterdam is a really good example of this, where PostNL reused space, which were postal depots for logistic parcel purposes for innovation with cargo bikes. So that kind of gives the city an innovative role. And this is what we're researching, how cities can be innovators in urban freight scenarios. And sometimes they're also the orchestrator, bringing together all the stakeholders that are needed for certain deployments of solutions.
Thank you, Danielle. So in the interest of time, I was given until 3, so we have 1 minute left. I just do want to point you to some information. There's links to Danielle's LinkedIn profile in the Slido. There's also a new mobility service LinkedIn group being promoted in Slido. I do invite everybody to have a look there. And I do have a small question perhaps to Gert, who was promoting the manifesto, but I didn't see where can we find that manifesto? How do we sign up to that?
Just very simple. Just send me an email. You want to be on the list, and I'll put you on the list, and then it will be again on the website of NMS. And again, it's just about awareness raising. It's not legally binding. It's not a contract, but just showing that you support this. So if you send me an email, my contact details are also in the slides, or to the NMS working group, we'll put you on together with I think we're now with 20 organizations from Europe, and you will be number 21.
Excellent, thank you Gert, for that information. So with that, I want to thank everybody, and especially want to thank Vasilis, who was able to circumnavigate the various technical issues that he was facing during this webinar. So we ran a bit late, but I guess the good content sort of greatly compensated for that. So thanks everybody. very interesting input. Do get in touch with the marketplace people in the meeting area. Offline, we will be taking care of the various presentations and putting them online so that you're able to read at your own leisure what has been presented and get in touch with the various presenters on these very important topics. Thanks. Bye-bye.